Alright, so here we have this red, black, and silver book called Tower Legends. And you can see this decoration on the front here of this tower coming up from this village. We've got a clock there, it looks like, and then it goes all the way up to this weather vane at the top. Let's take a look at the spine. We've got, it's pretty worn here, so this is where the title would have been, and then the publisher at the bottom. The top edge of the pages is smooth, but the sides and the bottom are all still rough. So those are roughly cut. There's a little frayed corner there too. On the back, there's not anything of note. Let's open it up. So on the inside cover here, we've got a map, and it says, "This shows where the towers are." So here's one in Florida, there's one in Spain there, and one in Italy. And then there's a compass rose right there in the middle of the ocean. If we open this up more, we get the sort of first little title page here saying Tower Legends. And then we've got a little note here. It says, "To the authors and publishers of the books which have furnished sources for the legends, thanks are herewith given." So this is just a dedication of thanks. Lists of these books and articles are included with the notes at the end of the book. Special thanks should be given to Mr. A.K. Chiu of the Harvard College Library for his suggestions in regard to Chinese phraseology, and hearty thanks to other persons whose comments on the stories have been helpful. And then we've got a glossy page there for the frontispiece. And we've got the title page, Tower Legends, retold by Bertha Palmer Lane, with a little print there, and then illustrated by Rosamond Lane Lord. Published in 1933, so about a decade or so before World War II, I believe. And then we've got this frontispiece colored here of a tower in Delhi, India. Qutb Minar, it looks like, or Qutb Minar. And here's the copyright page. You can see it's from 1933 there. And then an actual dedication to WCL, it looks like. This is the preface. It says, "The Bible tells of a remote time when men journeyed from the east and found a plain in the land of Shinar. And they said to one another, 'Come, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach heaven.' Centuries after the building of this Tower of Babel, an Arab poet, El-Darawi, wrote of another tower, the Pharos, the great lighthouse off the northern coast of Egypt. On its height a dome enshadowed me, and thence I saw my friends the stars. I thought the sea below me was a cloud, and that I had set up my tent in the midst of the heavens." Since ancient times, towers have made a poetic appeal. Towers of many kinds, in all ages and in all countries, have met varying needs. There have been watchtowers, lighthouse towers, cathedral towers, clock towers, bell towers to commemorate victory, towers to guide the airmen, towers to receive radio messages, towers to honor the living, towers to celebrate the dead. Whether low towers or lofty towers, all have significance. Around many of the towers, legends have clung. Some of these legends very well known. When the towers are not so well known, local legends in regard to the country or its people may be associated with them. Because towers will always stand midway between fact and poetry, the legends relating to them, more often than not, look in these two directions. Inspired architecture and poetry naturally go hand in hand. So this book is just a collection of legends about certain famous towers, and we can see here in the table of contents, it's got a story told by the Keeper of the Pharos, Alis and the Tower of the Winds, the moon that shone on the porcelain pagoda, the Brahmin star, the dragon of Gent, the ox that helped, the raven of the Giralda, and the goblin of Giotto's tower, the leprechaun of Ardmore Tower, and then finally the tower that sings. And then there's some bibliography and notes at the end there. And then on this next page, we've also got a list of the illustrations. That includes the one we've already seen of the Qutb Minar in India as the frontispiece. And it starts with the story of the Pharos in Alexandria, Egypt. Here's an illustration of that. I'm just going to flip through here. So we've got these little illustrations that occur within each chapter as well. So here we see humans leading and riding on these various desert animals. And then we've got two folks talking to each other there. And this sort of silhouette style, I'm not entirely sure what it's called, but I've seen it in a few older books. Here's two little creatures, it looks like. So we're on to the next story here. This is the Tower of the Winds in Athens, Greece. You can see these sort of wind deities carved into the top of it up there. And here's a really cool illustration of a angel or a goddess there dropping these flower petals around the edge of the paragraphs. And then another of a boat. There's usually some sort of illustration at the end of the chapters too. So this is the moon that's shown on the pagoda. This is the porcelain pagoda, Qinling in China. And it's great all the different architectural styles that this showcases as well. So I'm just going through here, and here's a section from this story showing folks walking on a rainbow, it looks like, and then dropping down, or a moonbeam, I think. And here's the one that we saw in the frontispiece. And then here's another one in Belgium, the Carillon Tower. Looks like this is the one that's actually on the cover of the book. You might recognize it coming out of the village down there at the bottom. So this story is about a dragon. It says, the Dragon of Ghent. At one side of the place Saint Bavon in the center of Ghent, Belgium, rises the impressive Carillon Tower with its 52 singing bells. On the largest bell, which is taller than a tall man, is a Flemish inscription that reads, "My name is Roland. When I toll there is fire. When I ring there is victory in the land." This great bell might vie with the horn carried by that other Roland, the knightly champion of Charlemagne, a horn that was heard 20 miles. On top of the belfry is a weather vane of dragon shape that presides over all the winds, hot or cold, and rejoices when Roland sings. It says a long, long time ago, before the dragon began to live on the tower, he lived near Aleppo, one of the chief cities of the Saracens in northern Syria. He was such a tender-hearted old dragon that he was called the Weeping Dragon, because he wept large bucketfuls of tears whenever the Belgian crusaders and the Saracens fell to fighting. Now, as the Saracens and Belgians fought at the slightest provocation, the tears of the sympathetic dragon flowed with such abundance into the ground that the soil became unusually fertile, and there soon grew up from this rich soil a rare flower. And here we have some illustrations of the people here looking up at a dragon flying by. Just really wonderful stories here. There's another illustration at the end of that chapter, and it says, there on the bell tower today is the golden dragon, a shining figure, turning, turning with the winds, morning, noon, and night, and looking down at the gardens of tulips in Ghent. I don't know if that's pronounced Ghent or Ghent. I might be saying that wrong. And here's another tower. This is the West Tower in Lyon Cathedral in France. And it looks like there's some story of an ox that helped there. Here's a few more illustrations. And then this one is called The Goblin of Giotto's Tower. And here's Giotto's Campanile in Florence, Italy. Alright, and then here's getting closer to the end here. This is the legend about a leprechaun. It's Ardmore Tower in Ireland, and you can see the little leprechaun leaping up to the top there. And there's another illustration at the back of that. And here's one of him cobbling shoes, it looks like. And then they actually have one in America as well. Here's the Singing Tower in Lake Wales, Florida. And there's a legend about sort of songs coming from the tower. Here's some birds at the end of the chapter there. Then it goes into the big bibliography and notes. It's got a few facts about the different towers and their legends. So we can see for the Pharos was considered one of the 7 wonders of the world. The lantern and upper stories fell about 700 AD. Some restorations were made in 880 and again in 980, but an earthquake in 1100 partly destroyed the octagonal second story, and another earthquake in the 15th century entirely destroyed the tower. It is not known whether the mirror on top of the Pharos was fine glass or was a polished steel reflector for the sun's rays by day and for the beacon fire at night, or was a telescope invented at the Great School of Alexandria. Whatever the mysterious mirror really was, it represented the highest scientific achievement of that time. And then we have a continuation of the map on the back here. We've got the tower in Athens, and then the Pharos, and then the one we saw in the frontispiece in India, and the Qingling in China there. Alright, so that's this book here from 1933, Tower Legends. Just a fun little book about different historical myths about these famous towers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.